Hello, my name is Liliana, and this is my partner Natalie.
Hi.
um, so yeah, she's the partner I've been interacting with on this whole term. So I'm just gonna talk about our journey together and what I have learned. So I'm not really good with people. It was very hard for me to interact, but I went out of my comfort zone and I saw her in the cafe. And so I approached her, and she was very nice, and I was like, thank God, because I'm so awkward. And I got talking with her a little bit first before I asked her, like, hey, you want to do this project with me? And she was so nice. And she said yes. So then we talked it over, and our first meeting was I invited her over to my house for dinner. It was something special. Yeah. It was nothing special. We had just like a regular dinner. It was just like I didn't want to show her too much of my culture just yet. Just wanted to get to know her because I thought that was more important first. But I went ahead and asked her about her culture, and she's from Colombia. And I've heard a lot about Colombia, but not really like face to face. Because I mean, you hear about everything over the internet, but you never know what's true these days. But yeah, so she grew up there, and she came here when she was like 10 years old, for, better opportunities. And she says it's been pleasant, but of course, there's always negatives, to moving to a new country. The first thing is that even though it's very diverse here, there's a lot of discrimination, and she did get exposed to a lot of stereotypes, about his, Colombians and stuff like that, which I think is very sad, but sadly that's the case. Just a lot of prejudice and discrimination, but mostly that's in like just in public areas, not really in school, which is good because in school she says she's been feeling more welcome, even though she says the education system is different, not in a bad way, it's just things are done differently in America. But besides the discriminations, it's been a good experience for her so far. It's just been hard communicating wise because just language barrier, and stuff like that. But she's been accustoming well. She's telling me adjusting is hard, but she's met a lot of nice people, including me now. And she's been adapting to the environment. She says that like America's much more open. We're like they're more like reserved in Colombia, but you have like your groups of people, but here it's like everyone talks to each other, even if like they don't know each other. It's all about like working together, being diverse, which is a good thing, but again, there's still people who are discriminatory against others. I also learned a lot about identity, being friends with someone with a different background, even though I have friends who are from other places. They weren't really particularly born in other countries. They were just have different backgrounds. I learned that identity is very important, and that you can there's so much that you put of yourself with even just like your face work or your gestures and what you put out there, and how much you could determine. Like even just for meeting her, there's a lot of stuff that I thought about her, but of course talking to her more, I learned more about herself and her identity, and then quickly forming in our conversations, because there's a lot of characterization when it comes to talking to people, and you want to put them in little groups, but you don't want to stereotype them, even though it's very hard not to. But once you learn a lot with communication, you learn that everyone has their own ethnic identity, and you learn not to judge them. And then when we went to hang out in the cafe, again, we talked about like adjusting and adapting to the environment. When she said right now it's been easier, but at first it was very hard because of adapting to our culture into America. Although it's very diverse, everyone's very judgmental. And she talked to me a lot about how communication is different where she's from, where nonverbal communication is much more important, like symbols and like actions speak louder than words, stuff like that. Where here everyone's very verbal, and likes to take advantage of that. Sadly, like racial slurs and stuff like that, because people have different perceptions of each other. But where she's from, it's very important to take care of people's feelings. Where here we kind of speak before we think, and that's how you get into trouble with other people from different cultures. Just kind of like we're threatened by what we don't know. But that's why I think this experience is very good, because it gave me a lot of good skills in communication, and it made me open to a new culture and think in a new way. She also says there's not really rules when communicating, but like just to when it comes to emotions, to like take in consideration what someone might be feeling, and a lot of respect for your elders. Even though here we respect people that are older than us, it's just kind of like we have to. Where over there, it's just because they're being respectful and it's their choice to, and then they've learned to do that. They're and along with that, they're very polite. They have, they take turns speaking. It's just very natural, like the rules they have, like along with feelings, like and framing, and just all the emotions come to play. They just take everything into consideration. Where here, she says everyone's kind of like carefree, and it's not really that bad, but that's why sometimes people say the wrong thing because they're not taking considerations what other people are feeling, and what they might think and what might hurt the other, because you may be insulting someone when you're not realizing it, just because you're not knowing of their culture. When we met at her house and I had beautiful dinner, Colombian food is so good. Her mom is such a good cook.
Thank you.
We talked about like how group work is important there, and she says it is very important. They know how to work well together, but it's more about like individuality and making sure that you get things done right. Or in schools in America, she says she notices a lot of group work is done, where it's all about like working together, and she says that is nice, but sometimes it's good to learn how to do things individually, because that's how it is going to be in the workplace. Although communication is of course important, it's always going to be important. And talking about how group works, you also make your own identity, and that's how you connect with people, whether you get along or not. But then like conflicts arise, and not just in group work. We talked about how conflicts come to play with like family issues, and she says she never likes to have things unresolved, although everyone has conflicts in their family, sadly. But it's normal. It's how things go. They try to like bring harmony in the end, like even if it doesn't get solved right away, they try to have the issue solved, because it's never good to have unresolved anger, especially in the family. You want to make sure you're all together. Or like sometimes here, I just get in fights with my mom about anything and it's not really good, and sometimes we'll just leave it as there, and even if we didn't solve the conflict, it just moves on, like it's just in the back of her head, and that probably leaves a lot of unresolved anger. So all these different type of conflicts are dealt in different ways, but most of the time she just does with harmony, like making sure everyone's okay and that they find a solution. And I think I like that, because I should work on that more with my family, even though family's always gonna have troubles no matter what you do. And we talked about like poverty and achievement in the family, and she said it was luckily she had a good life in Colombia. It wasn't too much trouble, though things are more divided there, where specific areas were poorer than others. Where in America it's just like, no matter, in one area there'll be someone that has a lot of money, not someone, it's like all mixed together, all the classes. Like economy is not separated like the areas, depending on how much money you have. Which she finds interesting, though still obviously there's a lot of poverty here, but they say they always take care of it together. If there's any money issues, they always make sure to have good support systems and spiritual resources as well, because very religious, and I am too, so we got along with that as well. And then when she came over to my house, but this time I gave her an Italian feast, exposing to my culture. Yes, all the beautiful red pasta, which I have every Sunday. Anyway, so we talked about how media is different in Colombia and in America, and she says in Colombia it's not really, it's important, but it's not like every day, it's like, oh, check the media for everything, there's news, blah blah blah, because there's lots of stuff to do, out of the country, like a lot of good spots and like family hangouts together, where here media just takes over everything. Even in school you use the media to practically do everything. So she says there's not really like media traditions there, and like the culture of media, but in America it's very heavy, and she's adapted to that. But obviously, she noticed some more people are just so much more into it. Like everyone's just on their phone, and even though like it's important that they, they're blind to like what's in front of them, and that's why probably nobody has respect for culture anymore because everyone's on social media, and like that's its own form of culture now. And then we went on to speak of medicine, which again wasn't really much different. It's just in America, it's more so when it comes to like healthcare, whatnot. It's just about getting the right medicine that you need and to take care of yourself. Where in Colombia, it's about like making sure that your whole body is alright, like just harmony overall. Like taking care of yourself is one thing, but then making sure that you have like a blessed life. It's more of like a spiritual religious thing is what she said. And then talking about job discrimination was like the last thing. She says it's pretty equal. Everyone in the job community like works together, and there's no real discrimination there. It's pretty equal. But when it comes to age, is what's it's what's most different. Like when you reach a certain age, like even 30, you're considered like too old like to work, and people will mock you for that, which is sad. Even though here there's so much discrimination, there's like for race and for gender, so it's kind of sad. But I learned a lot in this experience, like the differences in culture, and I'm very thankful that I got to meet Natalie, and we're gonna be good friends now.
I hope.
Yeah, yes, we will. So, thank you for watching.